So this is a weird one, I know. A video topic that was relevant 2 years ago. Yeah, it's because this video was made 2 years ago. So here's what happened. As you may remember, around 2 years ago-ish, the movies Barbie and Oppenheimer were coming out at the same time, which created a bunch of memes and everyone was making videos about it, and I was like, I can hop on this train. Except unfortunately couldn't, because literally the day that I was supposed to upload this video, SAG-AFTRA went on strike. And I know, I'm not a member of SAG. Technically people were still uploading things, but I know like time makes memory a little fuzzy, but things were feeling very dire in YouTube space back then, and I did not feel comfortable uploading a video that would, I guess, be perceived as crossing the picket line. And I was very much in support of the strikes, so to the shelf this video went, and so it has languished on my hard drive ever since. And I honestly didn't really know what to do with it, because the longer time went on, the less relevant Barbenheimer is. And at this point, it's just kind of funny, the idea of posting a fucking Barbenheimer video long after the meme has been beaten to death. This month I found myself in a predicament where I want to get a video up, and I don't really have time to work on another one because I'm in like the trenches with 3 different video topics right now. It's just been a really busy one. So what better time than to resurrect this video topic that I thought would just be lost work for me. All this work for nothing. Well, I'm shoving it in your face now. I hope you guys enjoy it. Here's some key things to note about this video. Obviously, outdated. I'm not fully aware if in the time since I made this video someone has made like the exact same topic. At this point, I kind of don't care. Number 2, this video is very much in jest. It is not supposed to be serious. When I made this video originally, I was very recently recovering from being very sick, and I had done the research for it while sick in bed. So if there's any inconsistencies or historical inaccuracies in this video, that's probably why, and the point is not necessarily to be an educational video like the rest of mine are. It's just for fun. Please keep that in mind. Do not take it too seriously. It's a joke. It's a joke! So, without further ado, I give you my almost 2-year-old Barbenheimer video in which I make an attempt to find a historical connection between Barbie and J. Robert Oppenheimer. Enjoy! Hi! Welcome to yet another completely unhinged video. I know that my July videos have been a little out of the ordinary, but I promise things will get back to normal next month. There's a little thing happening in basically tomorrow by the time this video comes out. Barbie the movie and Oppenheimer, the biopic about J. Robert Oppenheimer, are coming out on the same day, leading to a plethora of incredible memes about Barbenheimer. And I thought, what a perfect opportunity to do some historical digging into whether or not there actually is a historical link between Barbie and the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer and the bombs he helped to build. So here we are today, against the only uncluttered wall in my entire apartment, looking a little bit haggard just because I haven't slept that much in a couple weeks, and I'm still recovering from being sick, so if I sound a little stuffed up, that's why. And it's also hot as balls outside, and I can't have my AC on because I'm recording audio. This is not Dr. Pepper, this is me drinking cold brew, and I never drink coffee, so I might be going slowly mad over the course of this video. Cheers. Okay, so I think that a good place to start is not at the beginning of the timeline necessarily, but instead with my friend and yours, Barbie. Now, I apologize if these photos that I'm using to create my wall are a little spooky looking because, keeping with the vibes of this video, my printer promptly ran out of ink like halfway through printing these, so Yay. The most colorful person on this entire wall I had to print in black and white. Barbie. You know her, you love her. There is pretty much nothing to say. At this point, everybody knows Barbie. But there is probably a lot of stuff about Barbie's history that you don't know. For instance, the creator of Barbie was a woman named Ruth Handler, who was one of the co-creators of the company Mattel. So Ruth Handler is pretty much one of the most key figures in the story of Barbie. There are kind of two legends with the origin of Barbie, one being that one day Ruth Handler saw her daughter Barbara, who is in fact the namesake of Barbie, playing with some paper dolls, and Ruth came up with the idea that there could be something better than these paper dolls. Well, a big major conflict that Ruth ran into in the production of Barbie was the fact that nobody wanted Barbie. Most toy distributors and toy creators believed that little girls only want to play with baby dolls because they want to pretend to be mommies. And Ruth, who honestly had a very different take on the concept of little girl play at the time for the 50s, was like, no, I don't think so. I think little girls don't want to pretend to be mommies. Little girls want to pretend to be big girls. Excuse the extremely gendered language that I'm using here. I'm just repeating what she said in her autobiography. So that was like kind of a major conflict that Ruth ran into with regards to trying to get Barbie to be not only produced but distributed, because let's face it, Barbie, especially the original 50s doll, which I'll put an image of, she is a doll with boobs. She's very busty, she's very confident in her looks. She's more expressive than most traditional girls' toys. And that was a major thing that we'll be talking about later. Not only because of Barbie's actual very direct inspiration, a doll named Build Lily. Build Lily is actually a German doll, and she's not even a doll for kids. Build Lily was actually, a lot of historical articles on her will call her a sex doll. I think in the modern sense of the word, that's not entirely accurate, but if you're speaking about the 50s, then yeah. Build Lily was based on a cartoon from Hamburg, Germany, created by, what's his freaking name? Reinhard Buchen. I probably butchered his name. Sorry, Germans. For a publication called Bild Zeitung in Hamburg, Germany. Basically, this cartoonist, Reinhardt, was inspired by the ladies of the night in Hamburg. He would see these women in the, district where the sex workers often walked around and worked, and he was inspired by some of them who seemed self-conscious and others that seemed extremely confident. And so he created the character of Lily to represent a extremely sexually emancipated woman and confident woman in the era post-World War II in a recovering Germany. So as the second story goes, Ruth Handler with her family went to Europe on a multi-country trip, and while she was on that trip, she came across the Build Lily dolls in a store, and she was instantly inspired by them. Of course, Barbara, her daughter, wanted to take some home, and Ruth was very confused with the way that they were marketing Build Lily. Well, first of all, not only the fact that this very obviously sexual doll was very popular with young girls, because after all, she was a doll, and very different from anything else that had been on the market at the time. But also, Ruth Handler noticed that in order to get different outfits for Build Lily, which she had a wide array of outfits, you had to keep buying more Build Lily dolls. So if you wanted, like, her ski outfit and a party dress, you had to buy 2 Lily dolls, which she thought was a complete missed opportunity on the part of the manufacturer. And so she bought a number of Build Lily dolls in order to get the multitude of outfits, and she went back home to America and began work on trying to copy the doll. And I mean actually copy the doll. Ruth went to a number of American doll makers and toy makers, and she was like, can you recreate this doll? And every single one of them looked at that and was like, that doll is way too boobalicious. Why are you trying to make this doll? Nobody was interested. And not only that, but they kind of didn't have the technology either to make the doll the way she wanted it. For instance, the original Build Lily doll was made of hard plastic, and most dolls at the time were. But Ruth, who was very experienced in the realm of plastics manufacturing from her and her husband's time manufacturing furniture, she knew that she wanted this doll to be more soft, like a vinyl, and she knew that it was possible, but the challenge was making it happen. And so she took the challenge with her team from Mattel, and she took her goal overseas to Japan. And she went over there with a number of people, including a man named Frank Nakamura, who had previously, during the war, worked for the US military as intelligence. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a photo of Mr. Frank Nakamura, which is really a shame because I wanted to include a picture of him, but he was a major player in the story of Barbie. I need to add like a ton of stuff up here that I forgot to add while I was talking. It's so hot in here. Ah! It's so hot. Oh. Where did we leave off? Oh yeah, we're in Japan. Frank Nakamura and the whole Mattel team, they're running around Japan trying to find anyone who can make this godforsaken doll. But they kept running into challenges because most people in Japan really didn't like the way that Build Lily looked. She was a little too scary, confrontational looking. They didn't like how sharp her features were compared to a more popular doll in Japan called Lika-chan, who was like, she was the Barbie of Japan before Barbie was Barbie. And compared to Build Lily, Lika-chan had very soft features. She was more approachable to younger girls, and there were just a lot of cultural differences to contend with. However, eventually they did find a company in Japan called Kokusai Boeki Kaisha, and this was basically a distributor who had this massive web of influence all across Japan, and they were successful in finding a doll maker named Yamasaki who thought that he might be able to recreate this Build Lily doll using new technology to cast her in a soft vinyl. Now, after a lot of hard work, they were eventually successful, and thus the Barbie that we know today was born. They did soften her features a little bit. They unpuckered her lips and softened her eyebrows. There was also an incident where she was originally cast having some nips, and the product designer named Jack Ryan, he said he carefully filed off her nips with his pocket knife. And Jack Ryan is a key player here. Let's bring him to the board. So Jack Ryan was the product designer at Mattel who worked on Barbie. He is responsible for a ton of stuff involving Barbie. He also was, as many men were, in the military during World War II, and he worked at a place called Raytheon, doing science-y stuff. We'll come back to Raytheon later, but if you ask me, Barbie herself is not innocent. After all, she is the lady who does anything. She can do anything, she can be anything, even if that is a war criminal. As you may have already guessed, Barbie has had a job in science and in imperialism. Have you heard of scientist Barbie? What is she working on? Could it be a bomb? Mattel, we need answers. And what's her job in the military, huh? Just wearing pretty hats and short skirts? I don't think so. I'm gonna take a guess that scientist Barbie and military Barbie worked on the Manhattan Project. But let's go back for a second to our friend Ruth Handler. Now, Ruth Handler grew up in Colorado, but she had Jewish immigrant parents. Shabbat Shalom. Obviously, they came through on Elvis Island? I was about to say Elvis Island. That would be crazy. No, they came through New York on Ellis Island, as almost all Jewish immigrants did, up until basically after World War II. But you know who else had Jewish immigrant parents? I'm gonna let you take a guess. J. Robert Oppenheimer. J. Robert Oppenheimer had Jewish immigrant parents. Let's bring him on stage. Where'd he go? Robert? There he is. Robert. J. Robert Oppenheimer. Now, J. Robert Oppenheimer, the scientist behind the big, big bombs that go boom, 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 and also the namesake for Oppenheimer the movie, he was born in New York City, I think. If I remember correctly, he was born in New York City to German Jewish immigrant parents, and from a young age, he was extremely prolific in science. He was a very well-behaved, smart little boy. And so he went to many schools, and he studied at the University of Göttingen in Germany. You know what else was in Germany? Build Lily. Coincidence? Yeah. He also went to University of California, Berkeley. You know what else is in California? Los Angeles. Where is Mattel located? Where did the handlers live? Los Angeles. Interesting. See how it's all tying together? So anyway, during World War II, Robert Oppenheimer ended up working on a silly little thing called the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos, which was working to develop nuclear weapons. And they did end up successfully creating atomic bombs, so... But it's not so simple as that, because guess who was commissioned by the Manhattan Project to create the bomb detonators? That's right, it's Raytheon. I told you it would all come full circle. Well, of course, as we all know happened in the story, the bombs were successfully made and they were eventually dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing tens of thousands of people and causing lasting damage for generations afterwards. So the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is in Japan, which is where Barbie was later produced, so... But that is not the only place where bombs were dropped. Obviously, the bombs had to be tested before they knew that they would work, so they were mostly tested in the American desert, but there was other locations, and one of those locations was a location in the Marshall Islands called Bikini Atoll. Couldn't just blow up our own country, had to go mess with other people's frickin' ecosystems as well. Cool. Mind you, the thing about the Bikini Atoll is like after World War II, so we're really stretching now. But, more importantly, does the word bikini sound familiar to you? People who maybe grew up in the 90s and 2000s and 2010s and know cartoons? That's right, because Bikini Atoll is the namesake for Bikini Bottom in popular children's cartoon SpongeBob SquarePants. Now, Spongeheads may remember that there is an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants where SpongeBob attempts to teach the villain of the show, Plankton, about the power and joys of friendship. And he does this through song, using the fun song. Of course, at first, Plankton doesn't really understand, and he has his own little riff on the song, which has the lyrics, and I quote, "F is for fire, that burns down the whole town. U is for uranium, bombs. N is for no survivors. I rest my case." Because Bikini Bottom in SpongeBob is supposed to, allegedly, be at the bottom of Bikini Atoll, the nuclear testing site of the bombs. And you may need to sit down for this one, but do you want to know who was licensed to produce the SpongeBob toys and merchandise? That's right. It was Mattel. It all comes back to good old Mattel, good old Barbie, and Ruth Handler and J. Robert Oppenheimer. I didn't really want to stretch that far and fit this into the graph, but there's also a plot point in the Barbie Mermaidia movie where Fungus, the minion of Laverna, the evil fairy, wants to poison the ocean with magical poison. So it's just like the nuclear waste. Am I okay? Thank you for coming with me on this journey. I promise I will be more coherent and less this next time. Unless you enjoyed it, definitely let me know if you want me to be stupid forever. But I mean, okay, as much as this was a joke, and it's very much a joke, so please don't get mad at anything that is up here. It's a joke. We're just doing this for funsies. We're having a good time. Except for me, I'm not having a good time. I'm overheating and dying. The point is, there is a lot of, interesting facts that I uncovered here. I really didn't think that I was going to. And unfortunately, there were some walls that I hit. Like, for instance, I can't read Japanese. So as much as I wanted to see if there was like a connection between KBK and perhaps the bombings, or the doll maker Yamasaki, I couldn't find his first name, by the way. I couldn't find anything because I can't read the language, so I couldn't really access specifically Japanese documents, and maybe they aren't even on the internet. I mean, that's the hard part about research. Sometimes you just hit a wall. Not that it's important in this case. It's not like learning the secret truth behind Barbenheimer is gonna change anything in history. I just think it's fun because the two movies are coming out on the same day and it's a silly, goofy meme. So thank you for coming with me on this, whatever this was. I hope you're having a better week than I am. Don't worry, I'll be fine. I'm just really sweaty right now. And I'm getting over being sick, and I will get some medication to help me sleep. So I'll see you next time with a real, actually productive video, and not this, Pepe Sylvia whatever I've got going on. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. So, with that being said, wash thy hands, wear thy mask, and in honor of the SAG-AFTRA strike that almost killed this video, don't cross any picket lines.